Good morning and welcome back. Today we're going to talk a little bit about quadrilaterals. And if you remember quadrilateral, the word quad means four. So quadrilateral means that it is a four-sided figure. Okay, so we're going to talk a little bit about each type of quadrilateral, and then you're going to be asked to do a few things with the quadrilaterals. So today we're just going to talk about the attributes, and attributes are the things that describe the characteristics of a quadrilateral. So let me share my screen with you. Please make sure that you have some paper in front of you to take some notes, because you're going to take quite a few notes today. So whether it be parts of your packet or notebook paper, or you know how we used to find a clean space in our Learn book. The page we're going to be dealing with later on is page 115. So if you want to find a clean space around there, that'll be fine. But you need to have something to write on, okay? Because we're going to take some notes, okay? All right, so first of all, let's start by taking a look at some quadrilaterals. In order for a shape to be classified as a quadrilateral, it must have four sides and it must have four angles. It just has to have four sides and four angles. For example, a trapezoid would be an example of a quadrilateral. A parallelogram would be an example of a quadrilateral. A rhombus, a rectangle, and a square are all considered to be quadrilaterals. Now, I'm going to give you a second again to make sure you have something to write on. So make sure you have paper, because we're going to talk about each one of these quadrilaterals individually. All right, so let's recap again. Quadrilaterals have four sides and four angles. The first quadrilateral we're going to talk about is a parallelogram. A parallelogram, and in the blue over here is an example of a parallelogram. A parallelogram has two pairs of parallel lines. So if I were to draw a parallelogram, pretend my lines are straight. Okay, let's try it again. All right, there's one pair of parallel lines. And remember, parallel lines are lines that run in the same direction, but they never meet. So always remember, within the word parallel, there are two L's beside each other that look like parallel lines. So see my two L's here in parallel? They look like a pair of parallel lines. Here it is again. So when you think of parallel, remember there are two lines that go in the same direction, but they never meet. So when I look at this blue line here that I've drawn and this blue line here, they're parallel to each other. Now I'm going to take them, I'm going to create a parallelogram. Here's a parallel line, and here's a parallel line. My line's off a little bit. Let me see if I can straighten that up. Okay. All right, so my two blue lines are parallel to each other. That's one pair. And a pair, remember, like you have a pair of hands, a pair of feet, a pair of eyes. A pair consists of two. So here's one pair. And then the red lines are parallel to each other. There's a second pair. So remember, a parallelogram has two pairs of parallel lines. Okay, so let's go. I'll pause right there and give you a chance to write that down. Okay, so our next shape is going to be a square. So please write square on your paper. Okay, a square has 4 equal sides or congruent, whichever word you want to use. So 4 equal sides and 4 right angles. So I'm going to pause right there and let you catch up. Now let's draw a picture of a square. And remember, a square has 4 sides that are congruent. And it also has 4 right angles. So remember, if I can draw a little box in the corner of my angle, then it is a right angle. So I'll pause right there and let you catch up. Let me add that a square has 2 pairs of parallel lines. Let me add that too. 2 pairs of parallel lines. Again, it's getting bad. Okay, 2 pairs of parallel lines. Should be an E. And this should be an L. All right, I'll pause right there and let you get that down. A square has 4 equal sides, 4 right angles, 2 pairs of parallel lines. Okay, if you need additional time, then you just pause the video. Okay, all right, so we've done the parallelogram, we've done the square. Okay, so let's move on. Our next one is going to be a trapezoid. So we're going to write trapezoid. My pen is getting worse. Let me erase that and try that again. Okay. Okay, so that should be trapezoid with an R. T-R-A, trapezoid. Okay, the trapezoid has 1 pair of parallel lines. It only has one pair of parallel lines, a trapezoid. And let me show you what I mean by that. Okay. The black lines are parallel lines. So this line is parallel to this line. And then I'm going to finish it off with the green lines. Pretend my lines are straight. Okay. My green lines, the green lines are not parallel because if they kept going, then they would eventually intersect. And what I mean by intersect, they would eventually meet. So this green line is not parallel to the other green line, but the black line here is parallel to the black line here. So a trapezoid has only one pair of parallel lines. Remember, pair meaning two lines. So one pair of parallel lines. And I'll pause right there so you can get that information. Okay, if you need additional time, then just pause the video. Okay, so we've done trapezoid. Okay, so the next thing we're going to do is a rhombus. So let's write rhombus. A rhombus has two pairs of parallel lines. Why when it gets over here in the corner, it doesn't want to write. All right, so two pairs of parallel lines. It has four congruent sides. Okay, I'll pause right there and let you catch up. Okay, so I'm going to draw a picture of a rhombus. Okay. All right, so there's a picture of a rhombus. So you draw your rhombus as well. And notice that the opposite sides, the red lines, are parallel and they're also congruent. And the black lines are parallel to each other. It has two pairs of parallel lines. So the red lines are parallel to each other, and then the black lines are parallel to each other. Okay, so we've done our rhombus, and I give you a few minutes to write that down. Now you can just pause the video. Okay. All right, let's go on to our final one. Our final one is a rectangle. Okay, a rectangle has two pairs of parallel lines. And it has four right angles. Please forgive me for my lines. They will not draw straight for some reason. But it's okay. You know what a rectangle looks like. Okay. So now I'll pause and let you get what we have. This is our rectangle. Rectangle has two pairs of parallel lines, and it also has four right angles. Okay, so this black line is parallel to this black line. They're also congruent, meaning they're the same size, same length. The blue line is parallel to the other blue line. Okay? So notice I put two ticks and two ticks. That means those two go together. They belong together. And then the one tick and the one tick are the ones that belong together. So one red tick on one side and one on the other side. That means those two lines are parallel and they are both congruent to each other. Okay? So those are our quadrilaterals. We know that we have a trapezoid, a parallelogram, a rhombus, a square, and a rectangle. Okay, so those are the ones that you're going to be responsible for today. So make sure you keep those notes for today and tomorrow, so know where they are. And now we're going to use that information to answer some questions. Okay. Here's another little guide, just in case you didn't get the note. They're right here as well. Okay. So this is something else that can help you. It's basically what we just did. But here's another way to write it. Okay. So if you need additional time to look at that, just pause your video and let's move on to answer some questions. All right, so if you have your Learn book, turn to page 115 in your Learn book. And if you don't, this is what the page looks like. It says Lesson 15, Problem Set. So if you don't have it, it's not that big of a deal. You just draw what we draw. Okay? All right, let's go to problem number 1. Problem number 1 says, well, let's read the total directions. It says, construct the figures with the given attributes. Remember, the attributes are the characteristics, the things that describe the quadrilaterals. So what is it that makes a square a square? What makes a rectangle a rectangle? What makes a trapezoid a trapezoid? Those types of things. It says, name the shape you created. Be as specific as possible. Use extra blank paper if needed. So in problem number 1, it says construct quadrilaterals with at least one set of parallel lines. Okay? Remember, parallel lines are lines that run in the same direction. Okay? But they never meet. Okay? So we're looking for ones that have one set of parallel lines. Okay? So let's start with the simple one, a square. Does a square have one set of parallel lines? So if I was to draw a square, okay, there's my square. Is this a parallel line? Is it parallel to this line? Or is this side compared to this side? So could we use a square? Absolutely, we could. So please draw a square. And then up under it, can you write the word square? Okay. So we're going to label that square, S-Q-U-A-R. E, A-R-E, S-Q-U-A-R-E. There's your square. All right. It says use extra blank paper. We're going to construct the figures, all of the figures that we just talked about that have one set of parallel lines. Okay, so we talked about a square. What about a rectangle? Let's draw a rectangle and see. Now, does a rectangle have one pair of parallel lines? So we knew our square had, actually the square had two. One here and one here. I'm sorry, let's go back here. One here, this line and this line are parallel to each other. All right, so now let's look at our square. I'm sorry, our rectangle. All right, so here I have a line. Is this line parallel to this one? Yes, it is. Also, this line is parallel to this, but it said at least one set. Okay, could have more, and these two both have more. So this is our rectangle. So label it rectangle. Okay. The next shape we're going to want to try. What about what do we have? A trapezoid. Okay, let's go with a trapezoid. And let's see if it has one here. All right, let's look at our lines. Here's a line that is across from that one, opposite side, but are they parallel? No, they're not. Here's a line. Is it parallel? The opposite side, is it parallel? Parallel meaning they run in the same direction, but they never meet? Yes, they are. So trapezoid would be one. So I put that down and then I would write trapezoid. Okay. All right. What about a parallelogram? Okay, and again, forgive my drawings. This pen does what it wants to. All right, so let's look at a parallelogram. Is this side parallel to this side? It is, and remember, I only have to have at least one set. So that would be my parallelogram, but a parallelogram has two. Okay, so parallelogram would be one. What about a rhombus? Would a rhombus be one? So we got the parallelogram, we got the rectangle, we got the square. Does a rhombus have opposite sides that are parallel? Okay, so let's draw a rhombus. Okay, so there's my rhombus. And when I look at my side, this side here is parallel to this side. That's at least one set. And the opposite side would be this side. It's parallel to this side. So a rhombus has two as well. Along with my parallelogram had two sets as well. So we're going to write rhombus. So all of these quadrilaterals that we talked about today, all of them have at least one pair of parallel sides. Okay. Now we're going to go to problem 2. It says construct a quadrilateral with two sets of parallel lines. Okay. So we think about the ones that have two sets. Oh, I hear you saying it. The first one we need to draw, of course, again, would be a square. So we know this side is parallel to this side, and this line is parallel to this line. Okay. What about a trapezoid? Does a trapezoid have two sets of parallel lines? Here's my trapezoid right here. I know this line is parallel to this line, but what happens here? If these lines keep on going, they're eventually going to do what? Intersect. You're exactly right. They're eventually going to meet. So no, a trapezoid does not have two sets. It only has one set of parallel lines. So we can't use trapezoid. What about a rectangle? Does a rectangle have two sets of parallel lines? Here's one set, and here is the second set. So let's draw a rectangle You draw a rectangle on yours. And yes, a rectangle has two sets of parallel lines. All right, what about a parallelogram? Does it? Yes, it does. So a parallelogram has two sets. This side is parallel to this side, and opposite lines are parallel there. Okay. A rhombus, what about a rhombus? Does it have two sets? Absolutely. So a rhombus, we know, has two sets of parallel lines. This line is parallel to that one, and then this line is parallel to that one. Okay? So the only one that doesn't have two sets that we've dealt with is a trapezoid. You're exactly right. Okay? All right, let's keep moving. I'll give you a few minutes to catch up. If you need additional time, just pause your video. Okay, your you do is still on that same page. So if you have that Learn Book page 115, we're on problem 3. It's going to be your you do. If you don't have the page, just draw your answers on paper. Your job is to construct a parallelogram with 4 right angles. So that's what you are to do. So this is your you do. Now, let me say a little bit about your you do. Your you do is not the same problem that you're going to have for Kahoots. So I wrote you a little note here so that you don't get confused. Please still do the you do in problem number 3. And then when you finish, you're going to go to Kahoots and complete your Kahoots for the day. Remember, it is not timed, so take your time and get the right answer. There are 2 questions for today's Kahoots. The Kahoots questions are not the exact same as your you do. It's not the exact same thing, but it's still relating to the attributes of a quadrilateral. So make sure you get that in. You guys have a good rest of your day, and I'll see you next week. Bye-bye.